everyone. This is a bit of business on behalf of learmedia.tv and the British and Irish Trading Alliance. Welcome to the show. My name is John FitzGerald. Our aim with a bit of business is to bring interesting people and interesting topics together for the BITA community and our wider global audience. The topic for our discussion today is money matters, and doesn't it just, with the economic squeeze because of this global pandemic already taking hold and affecting many of us directly. We have two special guests today, Martin Mockler and Richard Morrissey. Martin Mockler is a partner at Evans Mockler in North London, and they provide professional and personal accounting, taxation, and auditing solutions. Martin is also chair of BITA London and is now well known across the community for his financial updates, giving the changing business landscape for us all since the pandemic began. Richard is head of corporate sales at Money Corp in Ireland, and they are experts in currency exchange and international payments. He is a BITA Cork board member and also part of the BITA Global Forum, where he is passionate about tackling plastic pollution and is active in the Be Plastic Aware initiative. And that's it. Please do remember to visit the BITA website, BITA.ie, and check out news about members and upcoming events. Martin and Richard coming up next. Please do stay tuned. So we are now live with Martin Mockler and Richard Morrissey to talk about money matters. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, John.
Good to see you, John. Thank you.
And both of you, it is great to see you too. So we have two financial experts in the hot seat today, ladies and gentlemen. So let me start with the burning question on everybody's mind. And I know you're all thinking this. After the Irish and English performance in the rugby last weekend, gents, can they bounce back and get to the top of the table?
I'll leave you go first on that, Martin.
Well, if you want a yes or no answer, John, I'm going to have to go for no.
Oh.
I think there was as many mistakes made on the sideline as there was on the field. It was a car crash from my limited perspective. I'm more of a GAA man than a rugby man, but I was disappointed on Sunday.
Richard, what did you think?
Yeah, I think I'd have to say the same. It was very disappointing at the weekend. 14 men for 70 minutes was always going to be a tough ask. And there was a lot of mistakes made. And look, the French team is being prepared for 2023. They're very good at preparing a team for a couple of years, and there could be another backlash. And I think if you've lost your first two games, you're facing a mountain for the three games that are left.
It sure is. Anyway, let's see. Fingers crossed the boys get the business done. Anyway, back to our chosen topic today. And look, most people care about money. If you don't have very much, you're probably keen to get a little bit more. If you have lots, well, people tend to also want a little bit more. And this past year has been a veritable financial roller coaster for all of us. Global pandemic, economies on financial life support, lockdown impacts on business, not to mention Brexit. So we've a lot to cover here, gentlemen. Some folks have done well. However, many more have suffered quite significantly. And here's a few headlines just from the past week. Financial Times, UK consumer spending slumps during latest lockdown. From The Guardian, British pub beer sales at lowest levels since 1902. And one from the Irish Times, Bank of Ireland to offer options to people in credit card debt. So let's start with the big picture. Martin, at a macro level, are we in a better place or a worse place compared to where we were at the height of the financial crisis back in 2008? What do you think?
That's a really good question, John. I think at the moment, the pain hasn't really been felt. And that's because there has been a waterfall of cheap money. Treasury in the UK have obviously, you have to say, Mr. Sunak, he was only 14 days in the job when he delivered his first budget, and the pandemic and lockdown kicked in shortly after that. They have done, and no pun intended, a sterling job in flooding the marketplace with money, and that has kept the corporate structure on life support, and also individuals have been able to avail of the furlough scheme, etc. So that has helped. So what the unknowns here are what is going to be like when that's withdrawn, and we'll know this year. I think there are going to be large changes in the structure of the UK economy, and they're compounded by Brexit. So you couldn't make this up, that you've got, you're now in the end of the transition period in the real world post-Brexit, and in the situation where the pandemic funding has been withdrawn. So, we don't know. We know that unemployment is going to spike. We don't know what the pain is going to be. Will it impact house prices, for example, a big barometer of UK wealth? The answer is almost certainly yes. Can Mr. Sunak increase taxes, as he has said he will try and do, to pay for the debt? The answer is probably not immediately, but yes, in the medium term. So yeah, we don't know, but the direction of travel here, we know there's pain coming.
Richard, what are your thoughts?
From an Irish perspective, and I really probably agree with a lot of what Martin said, but take what's happened here in the sense that the Irish government, with the backing of the EU, have thrown a lot of money at this. They've thrown money in the supports for around employment, and lots of SMEs have been getting grants for their businesses over the last 12 months. In some cases, I've heard of companies seeing money appear in their account that didn't even ask for. It's actually turned up. So money has been thrown at this, and that has probably been a world solution to it. And look, that problem is going to face a lot of economies down the road, long term, maybe not short term, but definitely long term. But money has been thrown at it, and in a strange way, that makes our economies kind of like zombie economies, because when those supports are taken away, who's going to be left dancing? And it's going to be survival of the fittest. And now, one positive thing that we would take is that the saving ratio of a lot of people at the moment, they're not spending, so they're saving. So you're kind of hoping when we do come out of this situation that there's going to be a mass rush to of retail spending, retail therapy, some people will call it, right? And I'm kind of looking at some industries where I can see that could really bounce back very quickly. And all of us are stuck in our houses for the last 12 months. There's been a lot of wear and tear in houses, carpets, the color of the walls, you name it, right? So you could see a massive spurt in redoing your house, carpets, furniture, you name it. And if that can happen, and they've often referred to as the roaring 20s from 100 years ago, are we going to see the roaring 20s maybe from 2023, 2024 onwards? We all have to wait and see.
I think you're absolutely right, Richard. And let's talk about that bounce back in a few minutes, because it's a very, very good point, the pent up demand, et cetera, et cetera. But let's revisit just what Martin was saying there around the performance of the British and the Irish governments during this particularly challenging time with the financial propping up of the economies. Question for you both. Are you surprised by the extent of the support, or what has surprised you most about the support that has been delivered? And how would you rate the performance of the respective governments based on where you're sitting so far with the pandemic situation?
Look, at the end of the day, governments had no choice. They are the lender of last resort. Everything, the buck stops with them. So when the crisis materialized, they had no choice but to stand up and do what had to be done. If there's any sense, and I'm not apolitical here to criticize the Irish government, but I do feel there is a bit of a missed opportunity here, in the sense from our Taoiseach that maybe it was wrong to what we did at Christmas time to reopen the place up, to have this. And I'd say the words meaningful Christmas is something that he'll be remembered for a long time. And maybe if we had ran what we were doing for the period coming up to Christmas and didn't open up, maybe we may not have had the issues we've had over the last couple of weeks, where the hospitals did come under an awful lot of pressure. So, and I do think there probably will be regrets there. Maybe we should have done what we should have done.
Martin, your thoughts from perhaps a UK perspective, being based predominantly in London?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, John, I was surprised at the speed of the reaction. I think that probably speaks to how severe the problem was. You shut down an economy overnight, then obviously the Treasury fully appreciated the calamity that could generate, and they had a taste for that during the credit crunch over a decade earlier. So the cash is the lifeblood of any economy and business. So yeah, I was surprised how quickly they got the money out. I was impressed. It felt like a Labour government. Furlough schemes, C-bills loans, all of the structures and supports they put in place. But as Richie said, it had to be done. There was no choice. You don't do that, and what happens? You end up with anarchy. So yeah, I was impressed with the UK government, I must say. I think they've done well. They continue to do well. I think that that's driven by Rishi Sunak. I think there are other departments in the non-financial departments. I don't think that Matt Hancock has covered himself in glory, and I'm not here to knock anybody, but I think the Treasury and the Chancellor have done exceptionally well, and that Sunak, he's a smart guy. So yeah. He's got a budget coming up first Wednesday in March, so less than a month away. I'm really interested to see what he delivers then. And
the current plan, certainly in the UK, Martin, is to end the furlough scheme end of April. That's the current thinking and the current plan. So it's already been extended till the end of April. So there will be some sort of a consequence to that. What are your thoughts? What do you see as the major implications then once that happens?
Well, yeah, you're right, John. There is a cliff edge coming at the end of April. I just can't see it being removed overnight entirely. It may be removed, but it'll be replaced. I think we have a client, out of curiosity, just to let you guys know a bit of inside information, who has signed a contract with the government to develop pop-up employment shops all over the UK. They're signing 3-year leases on properties. Our guy is in there doing the wiring and the Cat 6 cabling and some of the M&E work. So this is the government going to roll out these facilities in high streets in the UK. Now there'll be large town centres and cities, not going to be everywhere, but there's a lot of them proposed. So they see a 3-year problem here to get this unemployment number down. And so that'll be interesting to see what that looks like, how they'll operate in conjunction with unemployment centres which already exist. So the answer to the question is there's a cliff edge coming. I can't see it being removed entirely without some form of replacement. It may be extended, for example, like the lockdown is forecast to be lifted in early March here in the UK. Obviously, the vaccine program is very impressive. I think you have to say they're going to hit 15 million this weekend. That's impressive. And really, what you've got there then at the end of that first period is all of the sort of high-risk groups have been vaccinated, at least the first dose. So that should have a positive impact. So I think UK PLC is going to get a bit of a bounce because it's ahead of the curve. But the unemployment is the big threat, and that's what they're targeting. So we'll have to wait and see what the new measures look like.
There's a lot of variables at stake here, and I want to come to Richard now on a particular one, and it's Brexit related. So I guess I want to get personal, and I want to talk about roast potatoes. Now, who doesn't like a lovely roast potato, I ask you? And last weekend, I popped to my local supermarket because I was buying potatoes for a roast chicken dinner. Now, of course, when you buy potatoes, if you're having roast potatoes, you'd buy duck fat as well, or perhaps goose fat. So I searched high and low for duck fat in the supermarket. I asked 4 members of staff, and eventually a kind member of staff came to the place where it should be, checked her phone to see what the stock levels were looking like. And her comment was, "Oh, sorry, yes, since Brexit has happened, we haven't been able to get duck fat because it comes from Europe." So my question to you, gents, is this the demise of the roast chicken dinner as we know it? And is something going to happen where local suppliers of duck fat pop up and fill the economic void? Or is this the slippery slope that is Brexit related? And can we expect to see much more of this? Richard, your thoughts?
It's interesting. We're talking nearly about economic nationalism here, John. But look, Brexit was always going to have growing pains, and we probably saw those pains well before the 31st of December. You saw what was happening in Dover and Calais, and trucks piling up and all that. So look, we knew what was coming ahead, and that date, the 31st of December, it's a date and everything passes, right? And we're seeing issues we're seeing it with a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients are food exporters into the UK market, and things have slowed down. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork and there's a lot of dotting I's and crossing T's. Now, technology will help that, right? But it's going to take time. And but you're worrying that void that's there at the moment is that like you said there, do duck fat manufacturers appear in the UK because there's a shortage? Or do people go to other locations to get produce? Do you go to Asia? Do you go to the US? Do you go to South America? That presents itself with other issues then, because food is a perishable product that just can't appear in 24 hours. So I do think, look, like everything in life, when you have supply and demand, the equilibrium will sort itself out eventually. And I think with Brexit, we will get to live with it. But getting there will be pains.
Martin, your thoughts on that from the UK perspective and implications short term anyway that you have seen or not seen so far?
I think it's bad news for my cholesterol levels if there's going to be a surplus of duck fat in the UK and it's going to be discounted in the shops, because I'll be tempted to buy it. So that's the bad news for me. I think, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because what is the Brexit project? We know the outcome of the vote and all the unintended consequences that have arisen from that. But does the UK government want to end up with Singapore on Thames or Brussels by the Sea? And they're the debates that are still going on, and even post 31st December. Direction of travel here still isn't clear. Financial services was carved out of the original Brexit discussion. So, the biggest single component part of the UK economy hasn't got a landing zone yet in terms of regulation. So, we don't yet know, and it will take years to be perfectly frank with you, John, to know the impact. I think the only thing we can say with certainty is probably, and this is it's common. It's not a positive for the UK, but they are a resourceful nation. The UK, they've been around for a long time. They've seen a lot of highs and lows. So whatever's thrown at them, from the Blitz back to invasions from the Normans, whatever it might be, it'll be dealt with. It just will take time. And I think there's a lot of teething problems, a lot of moving parts, and the logistics are probably the most manifest example of the current challenges. But I think if you've got sensible people making sensible decisions, they're not they know what needs to be done. It's just can they have the political will to make the decisions, and that to me is probably the biggest challenge here.
And it's interesting, John, as well. Like our business, Moneycore, Brexit was a big challenge for us as a business that was situated here in Ireland, that was owned by a UK entity. We were a branch of Moneycore in London, and in a Brexit situation, we would not have been able to operate in Europe unless we got regulated by a European entity. So we saw this coming down the line in 2020, and we had to deal with it, and we had to deal with it as a group, not as a branch. So the road we went down is that we had to get regulation within a European entity. It was natural for us probably to look at Ireland because we had the branch there. So we engaged with the Irish Central Bank in 2020, and in June we got regulated to have a European entity in Europe, headquartered in Ireland. And for us, that has meant that every Money Corp client in Europe, right, that used to deal with people in London, now have to deal in Europe. So they're now dealing with our team in Dublin. And this comes to 10,000 British expats that live in the Costas, to companies regulated in Germany, France, Cyprus, Malta, Italy, you name it. So it's been a movement of our business, part of our business, from London to Dublin, and we'll grow that business out from here. And it also allows our UK colleagues to really concentrate on your UK business, and probably business that's outside the EEA, like Switzerland and other places in the world where we'll grow the business. But Brexit made us as a business, in order to survive in a European entity, to actually make those decisions. And it's interesting, like, I mean, some other companies haven't made those decisions yet, and there is a period of time being given to do it, but they're going to have to move quickly, because regulation is what every company is regulated, has to go back to some regulator. Even Martin's accountancy firm, they have to go back to the accountancy body. So regulation is here to stay and will always be here. So it's important that companies operate within that framework.
I think you're both spot on here. There's a lot of moving pieces to this particular puzzle. And let me just shift gears a little bit here and move to the glass half full time segment. And this is from a PwC economic report, from the great lockdown to the great rebound. Now, that's what PwC is estimating, that there will be a great rebound, and fairly soon. Do you agree with that? And Martin, you touched on this. What do you think it's going to feel like? And similarly to you, Richard, once Martin has commented, what do you think it's going to feel like in Ireland with this great rebound post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think, John, it's absolutely true that there will be a significant amount of pent-up demand. We were chatting earlier on about the comparables with the Roaring Twenties. I've been talking to my children about it and explaining that they actually will be coming into the marketplace at a time where the economies will probably be booming. I think if you look at foreign travel, the amount of people who want to go on a foreign holiday in the UK, they've missed, potentially going to miss 2 summers in a row. The retail spending, there's a lot of money held on deposit, which needs to be, it won't stay there. So I think the thing is, the government supports the funding that was issued by the Treasury in the UK. That's over a term of between 6 and 10 years. So this money is around for a long period of time. So it's not as though, different to say the furlough cliff edge, where that stops overnight and you have to deal with the unemployment. The soft and cheap money is around for potentially a decade. And that's going to fund, you see it in asset inflation. You've seen house prices do the opposite to what every economist in the Western world forecast would happen in March and April 2020. They said there'd be a house price crash. House price went up in every developed country. You see it in the stock markets. They dived in March. The first reaction was sell, sell, sell. Actually, they've all hit, well, the US certainly, and European, Asian markets hit all-time highs subsequently. So there is a lot of cheap money around, a lot of pent-up demand, a lot of frustration. So I do think we are in for a significant bounce. I think the UK will feel it first because, as I said, the advanced vaccination program, it followed quickly by Europe. So it's just, once this pain is past, hopefully there'll be sort of sunny uplands to march towards.
Well, let me just build on that and get Richard's comment. And this is another quote from Bharat Kapalian, who's a senior economist at PwC, and he said, once the virus is under control, policymakers' attention will focus on laying the foundations for sustainable and inclusive growth, with particular focus on creating jobs and pushing the green economy agenda. So, Richard, is this the moment when the green economy agenda really takes hold? And what will that look like for the construction sector in particularly?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, John, and I'm probably going to bring it local with my answer, right? And I'm going to bring it local to where I come from in Cork, here in the south of Ireland. And we're very excited down here about renewable energy. You mentioned the green economy, and we've had a couple of good announcements. In the last couple of weeks here, where energy companies have big plans for what they're going to do offshore here in Cork. Simply Blue announced last week, in conjunction with Shell, about wind farms all off the coast of Cork. Amarenco, that's headed by John Mullins, who used to head up Bord Gáis, have announced solar farms all over Munster. DP Energy, a company that in North Cork that's has been very involved in energy projects in Australia, and this isn't millions, this is hundreds of millions they've spent down there, announced last week in conjunction with a Spanish energy company, massive plans in the wind game, again off the Cork Clare coast, right? And so this is something that was never on the agenda 2-3 years ago. And all of a sudden, there's an industry that I can see hundreds of jobs in that space happening here in Cork and Kerry and Clare in something that, as I said, we didn't see 2 to 3 years ago. And there's a whole infrastructure around that as well. As you say, construction, these are going to have to be built. And also it's the support around it, and a very good UK-Irish businessman, a guy called Pierce Flynn, who's been involved with soccer clubs in Celtic. Pierce announced during the summer that he was buying 2 ships to support all these offshore winds that are going to, or structures that are going to be built, because they're going to have to be maintained and all that. So all these ancillary businesses are kicking off as well. So this is very, very exciting in a specific part of Ireland and in a specific industry as well. But then just in general, when you look at the Irish economy and where it can go, the one constant thing that I saw a lot of in the last 12 months is that American multinationals are still coming here. There's been announcements every week, 100 jobs, 50 jobs, you name it. There would have been the fear that would have stopped. Well, under a Trump presidency, it was often muted, but you would have felt with the pandemic that companies would have held off on projects, but they've kept going. And we've seen a lot of good activity around Irish companies as well, raising finance. We have another announcement this morning. A tech company called Flipdish just raised 40 million euros to expand their business and 300 jobs. So we can all look at the doom and gloom, but we have to look, as you say, the glass half full, the glass half empty. We really have to look at the positive side of things. And maybe just to finish on one thing, you have to look at the dangers. And one danger we see here at the moment is there's been talk of one of the Irish banks, Ulster Bank, withdrawing from Ireland. Like, it's rumoured. Now, we don't know if it'll happen, but there's 20 billion in deposits probably sitting with that bank. And if they were to withdraw, where does that cash go? I mean, because banks don't want cash these days. To have cash in a bank these days, you actually you have to pay negative interest rates. And so follow on Martin's comment there about the price of houses, we're seeing house prices go up as well, because what could actually happen with that cash is that it could be invested in property, in land, you name it. It may not go back into the banks. So again, there could be a flood of retail money out there to fuel what we could see as the roaring 20s.
And Martin, just last question for you on this, on the green economy. With green bonds forecasted to increase very, very significantly over the next 12, 24, 36 months, i.e. the money that governments use to fund environmental projects, again, the green economy, what are your predictions on how that's going to impact things, especially in the UK post-Brexit?
Yeah, I think the EV marketplace, the electric vehicle marketplace, you can see the growth that's forecast there. And you've got some technologies that are currently around but not commercially enabled, such as drones. You know, Amazon have applied for a license to deliver packages in the UK with drones. You've got the concept, there was an article this morning, an airline has bought a flying taxi company there are some. So what you will see is you'll see structural changes in the economy, and this happens every generation sees it. What the pandemic has done will be to accelerate these trends. These are large structural shifts. I wrote an article last year about the end of the Industrial Revolution, and we're currently in the IT revolution, and we're only at the beginning of the IT revolution. And I'd say if you were to be able to fast forward 25 years, you wouldn't recognize the world we're living in. So it's a matter of governments embracing these technologies and trying to get them into the commercial space. Now, we see it. Our clients, as you're aware, John, in Evans Mockler, they're primarily contractors and developers in the UK, and you can see the move to build more. The green agenda is there all the time. The modular building, for example, is growing in the UK. So it's there. It's been promoted and pushed by government, and we need to do it. To make sure our children our children's children have a planet that's habitable. It has to be done. So but it needs to be incentivized from the top, and we see that in the UK.
Gentlemen, look.
Follow on that there, Martin, as well. Look, the big companies that you see today will not be the big companies that you see in 25 years' time, and it's the same 25 years ago as well. I did a course once, and I learned that the largest company in America in the 1880s was a company called National Ice, and their role was actually distributing ice all over Midland America. If you often saw in the Westerns, they had a chunk of ice, and it actually ended up becoming a distribution company. But someone discovered the refrigerator in the early 1900s, and National Ice disappeared. So the moral for any company is that you've got to keep innovating. The ones who stop innovating are the ones that die.
Innovate and evolve and grow and prosper. I think that's it, Richard. And look, that's a good place to stop. We're out of time, gentlemen. So all that remains for me to say is, Martin and Richard, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been a Bit of Business. My name is John FitzGerald, and thank you so much for tuning in. All the best for now.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.